Do we hear Anna?
Good afternoon and welcome to NASA's Johnson Space Center. My name is Anna Schneider with NASA Communications, and today I am joined by the crew of NASA's SpaceX Crew-12 mission. Crew-12 entered quarantine on Wednesday in preparation for their upcoming mission, so we are in separate locations to maintain the quarantine protocols. Crew-12 includes NASA astronauts Jessica Meir and Jack Hathaway as commander and pilot respectively. Serving as mission specialists are ESA astronaut Sophie Adeno and Roscosmos cosmonaut Andrei Fedyaev. We will begin with some opening remarks from the crew before opening it up for questions here in the room and remotely. For those joining us on the phone bridge, you can press *1 to enter the queue and *2 to remove yourself from the queue. For those on social media, you can ask a question using the hashtag AskNASA. And with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to NASA astronaut Jessica Meir.
Thank you so much, Anna. It is my absolute privilege to be here today to speak to all of you, and especially to serve as the commander for this very exceptional crew. This is, of course, my second trip back to the International Space Station. I'm very excited to be returning. We have another veteran space station flyer here as well on our crew, Roscosmos cosmonaut Andrei Fedyaev. Both of us are really excited to bring our past experiences and expertise to the very first flight for NASA astronaut Jack Hathaway and ESA astronaut Sophie Adeno. We love this kind of balance that we have of 2 veterans and 2 rookies to hit the ground running when we get aboard the International Space Station. When we arrive on board, we will be joining Expedition 74, our friend and colleague NASA astronaut Chris Williams, and Roscosmos cosmonauts Sergei Kudzverchkov and Sergei Mikhaev. The 7 of us will comprise Expedition 74, and then partway through the mission for the 4 of us, the Soyuz crew with Chris, Sergei, and Sergei will actually depart, and we will be joined by a new Soyuz crew, Pyotr Dubrov, Anya Kikina, and also NASA astronaut Anil Menon. So we're very excited to be up there with different personalities, all our friends and colleagues working together on board the ISS. As I'm sure you're aware, we will be doing a multitude of different scientific experiments and technology demonstrations and tests on board our orbiting laboratory of the International Space Station. As a physiologist, of course, I'm very excited for the multitude of physiology experiments. We will do experiments ranging from bone and muscle health, our cardiovascular, blood flow, what's going on in all of these systems during the changes that we experience in microgravity. There's an experiment that's looking at the small muscles in our necks and how they can support us in different gravitational phases. There will be images of our brains taken pre- and post-flight to look at any changes to the brain that happen during microgravity and space missions. We will be testing and incorporating a new exercise system called E4D, which was developed by the European Space Agency. This will be an incredibly exciting asset because it will be very important for future exploration missions like those on NASA's Gateway, the small orbiting laboratory that will be around the moon in the future as part of the Artemis program. We even have a new experiment called Relax Pro that Sophie and I will be participating in that's looking at meditation and mindfulness and how that can benefit astronauts on space missions. We will also be part of a study called manual piloting. This is another really cool aspect because it's not just about our lives on board the space station or just in microgravity. It is looking toward applying these results to future lunar landing missions. So we will be actually having to do a simulation of landing on the moon. We've done some tests here on the ground. We'll do more when we're on board the space station and then more upon return. And with that data, we will be able to understand more about how these gravitational transitions between different gravity environments and microgravity, how that affects astronauts' abilities to land on the moon and how to do that safely. So the science that we're doing is really exciting because it's looking not just on what can benefit astronauts real time on the space station, but toward the future of exploration missions, and of course has so many different impacts back here on Earth as well. We look forward to speaking specifically to more of those experiments, if you like, in your questions. I'd just like to wrap up by saying we are incredibly grateful for all of the ground teams here, NASA, ESA, Roscosmos, all of the international teams that trained us all around the world prepping for these missions, and of course, our family and friends who have supported us this entire way. This mission is not ours alone. It truly is for everybody that has helped us get here and for all of humanity.
Thanks, Jessica. I feel well trained. I'm ready, and we're all ready to go when the rocket's going to launch in 12 days.
Thanks, Jack. And yes, not only we're ready and well qualified, but also, we're also very bonded together. We built trust as a crew together, so ready to lift off.
Yes, yeah, of course, we are ready to share it with you.
Go Crew-12!
Thank you. And with that, we will go ahead and open it for questions, both here in the room and on the phone bridge. As a reminder, for those on the phone bridge, please press *1 to enter the queue and *2 to remove yourself from the queue. And when called upon, please state your name, affiliation, and to whom your question is addressed. We will start here in the room with Richard Tu.
Richard Tu of the Post newspaper. A question for both Jessica and Andre. As the veterans, what advice do you have for our newest space travelers coming up with you and for Crew-12? Thank you.
You know, it's difficult sometimes to give advice to these professionals. They're so prepared in every way technically. The one thing I usually talk about is the thing that you can't prepare for, and that's just what it feels like to be living and working in microgravity 24 hours a day. I like to describe it as when you arrive on the space station, you're kind of like a newborn because you've mastered all of these other technical things, but it's the basic newborn skills that you don't necessarily have. Those are the ones that are really difficult to figure out how to do when you first arrive, how to eat, how to drink water, how to go to the bathroom. So we've had some discussions about all those things, and of course, other astronauts and cosmonauts provide tips all the way down. But I think the most important thing is that both Andre and I will be there in person to help guide them through, and you know, selfishly, we'll get to experience it again for the first time because nothing is quite like the very first time you feel this prolonged weightlessness. Andre?
I would like to add only one thing, guys. I would advise you, give you advice, only one, to get a pleasure from your space flight. That's it.
We will go on to our phone bridge now. First up is Jonathan Siri with Fox News.
Thanks so much for your time. This question is for Jessica. You had touched on your excitement about the medical experiments you'll be conducting on the ISS. If you could elaborate further on how these experiments will benefit longer duration missions to the moon, but also to Mars. Thank you.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think it's different for every individual experiment, but overall, when you're talking about the physiology and medical experiments, it's understanding how the body adapts to microgravity for long periods of time. Now, we have a wealth of data already from the decades past that we've done research with all of our international partners. So we have a very, very solid foundation of these systems, but there still are some unanswered questions and things that are poorly understood. I'll use one example to illustrate that, and that's an experiment called B-complex. As I'm sure you're aware, it's been kind of a hot topic in the media for several years now. One of the things that happens to astronauts when they're in space is called a new phenomenon, a new syndrome called SANS, Spaceflight Associated Neuroocular Syndrome. And what that means, it's characterized by a set of changes that happen to the eyes and to some astronauts' vision, where some astronauts will experience deficits to their vision after spending a long time in weightlessness. They will have some swelling of the optic disc in the eye. They'll have some changes to the choroid, the layer that in the eye that actually provides blood flow, and to the retina itself, where those areas can get thicker and they can have some folds in them. And there is a flattening of the eye. So normally our eyeball's kind of round, and after prolonged weightlessness for some astronauts, there's a flattening of the back of the eye. I actually experienced a pretty strong case of this on my first flight, so it was pretty interesting. I didn't have any symptoms aside from the fact that I now have perfect vision. So I actually used corrective lenses on my first mission before I went up, and now I have 20/15, and that's persisted for the last 6 years. So pretty interesting for me. It actually turned out to be quite advantageous. But of course, we're studying this really thoroughly because we want to make sure that we don't have any long-term damage to astronauts' vision or to the eye themselves. The good thing is we haven't seen any deficits long-term that exist beyond the missions, but we need to collect more data. We need to really understand this problem thoroughly when we think about returning to the moon and even longer missions going to Mars. So that's just one example that will help us for future exploration. And then we can talk more if there are specific questions about experiments that help benefit patients and people right back down here on Earth as well.
All right, next up we have Will Robinson-Smith with Spaceflight Now.
Yes, hi. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. Question as well for Jessica Meir. Assuming, obviously, things are quite fluid right now, but if Crew-12 launches before Artemis 2, the opportunity would present itself for both you and your spacewalking colleague, Christina Koch, to be in space simultaneously once again. Have you thought about what communication opportunities might present themselves in that scenario? And then just briefly on the manual landing experiment that you're going to be conducting on the ISS, how far into the mission will that happen? And is it agnostic to, the HLS provider, or are you working with specifically a SpaceX model for their Starship or Blue Origin's Blue Moon lander? Thanks.
Yeah, sure. Of course, we are all thrilled about the launch of Artemis. We are very excited to see how this will all play out so we can watch our friends and colleagues go to the moon. The really cool part of it is that if we do launch before Artemis, we'll be on board the International Space Station, and part of their flight plan actually involves a call to the ISS. So would be really excited to be able to talk to Christina, as you mentioned, and also my classmate, Victor Glover, and kind of my astronaut uncles, Reed Wiseman and Jeremy Hansen. So hopefully we'll have the opportunity to do that connection. I don't think we'll have another kind of during the flight event during their mission, but of course we would welcome that if anyone can come up with anything. But I know that there is that scheduled event, and we're all very excited to be all in space at the same time. It's really interesting how things work out. As far as a manual piloting study, it is agnostic to the provider. So we have undergone, I think all three of us have been subjects for that. So we've undergone several sessions already here on the ground. And it's a simulator that the science team put together. So it's not specific to any particular provider. It's kind of basic piloting skills and landing skills to look at the problem in general, not for either specific provider at this point. And that will occur at various time points throughout the mission. Normally for experiments, especially physiological ones, we want to gather data early in the mission, partway through, like midway through the mission, and then towards the end to see how the human body is changing and adapting. And then, of course, the most important will be getting a data point as quickly as we can when we return to gravity as soon as we land. So that's how, I'm not sure exactly which days of the mission, but it'll be roughly divided up between the early, mid, late, and then post-landing time points.
All right, next up we have Marcia Dunn with the Associated Press.
Yes, hi, for Jessica, anyone else who would like to chime in. How hard is it for you and your crew not to be distracted by the Artemis 2 launch campaign, flying to the moon, astronauts flying to the moon for the first time in half a century, et cetera, et cetera? And also, have you had to go through any extra medical checks or procedures in advance of launching, given that the last crew had to cut their mission short for medical reasons? Any additional precautions in space to avoid any health surprises?
No additional testing. I think the managers answered this question in their conference. We are already do a very thorough screening for us pre-flight, so nothing has come up additional. There's a lot of confidence where we are right now, and I'll hand off to Jack for the first part of the question.
Yeah, thanks for the question. It's not a question about distraction. It's more about excitement, really. Like, these are our friends and colleagues that we watch train and work really hard to get qualified and ready to go to operate this vehicle on their mission to the moon. And we're just all really excited to see what they're going to be able to do. We're excited to be part of it, part of the NASA mission with our international partners to achieve these exploration goals. And so it couldn't be cooler that they're in quarantine and we're in quarantine. We're trying to launch 2 rockets roughly around the same time. It's a pretty exciting time to be part of NASA and part of this expanding mission as we go to the moon and beyond.
Thank you. We will go over to social media for a quick question. As a reminder, for those on social media, you can ask a question to the crew using the hashtag AskNASA. So Monica Lynn Fisher on Facebook asks, what are ways you guys prepared for this flight? She says, I've always admired astronauts and always wondered what you guys have to do in order to be mentally and physically ready.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Actually, the training is quite a long journey. It's actually already a mission in itself. So training is gaining a lot of skills that are very unique to spaceflight. So first, we get to learn what is the ISS system composed of, and so that we can understand what acronyms are used and what systems are here to operate. We need to learn how to repair them, because it's exactly the same as in a house. At some point, you might have to repair the toilets, to fix some, I don't know, some hot water thing, or, you know, we need to take care of this house. It's not only a very high-tech laboratory orbiting, but it's also our home, so we need to be able to repair this. We also gain a lot of skills in emergency training, and for this, we need to be able to take the hat of a firefighter, the hat of a emergency room doctor, the hat of, I don't know, whatever plumbing repair work. So there are a whole set of skills that we need to train for. And especially for emergency situations, we not only train the crew together, the 4 of us together, we also train with Russian Soyuz crews that, as Jessica mentioned, Sergei, and Chris are already there. So we trained with them the whole expedition together in the Scale 1 mock-up of the ISS here at NASA Houston. We also train with the ground control teams, because in the end, all this works because there is a ton of people working on the ground helping us and supporting us and maintaining the systems. And so we need to be able to be sure that communication goes well in case of an emergency in particular, but also for nominal everyday tasks. So we train with them as well. And yeah, so these are the technical skills. Now we also become a crew together. We spend a lot of time. We learn to build trust among each other, because of course we are doing a risky job where all of our lives relies on the other's skills and competence, and we trust each other very much for that. So there is a lot of like out-of-the-box training, I would say, to be sure that even if we are pushed towards our limits, we know very well our crewmates, and we still trust them. We can operate together even in a risky environment, even if stress is increasing. And so we do like kind of survival trainings in the water, winter survival training, and all kind of survival trainings. Yeah, so very exciting training.
All right, next up we have Charlotte Cossit with AFP.
Hi, thank you so much for doing this call. I wanted to ask a question to Jessica Meir and Sophia Deneau. As you're both preparing to launch at a particularly symbolic moment, as the first crewed lunar mission with a woman is also set to launch soon, I wanted to ask, how do you feel regarding this? Sophie, you will also be the second French woman astronaut to ever fly in space. So I was curious to know, what do these milestones represent to you both?
Yeah, this was something that I spoke to often after the first all-female spacewalk with my colleague, Christina Cook, again, as mentioned. And I think for us, you know, we are all equally trained. For us, it doesn't really matter who's doing what, because whether it's a spacewalk, a robotic capture, or a scientific experiment, we are all fully trained and ready to go. So the assignments, doesn't really matter who does what. That's how I kind of thought about things in the beginning for the spacewalk as well. Christina and I were just going out the door and doing our job that day. But it did take on a lot more significance to me over time as I saw the outpouring of enthusiasm and support that we received from people all around the world, from all walks of life. And that is something that we really reflected on and did not take lightly. You know, that meant a lot. And to me, what it means really, it's for the generations of minorities and people that were truly pushing the boundaries earlier that got us to where we are, where now it just feels incredibly normal for Sophie and I to be doing exactly what Jack and Andre are doing. There's no question. But the only reason we feel that is because of all of the hard work and glass ceilings that were broken for the generations of women and minorities before us. And so I hope that for them, they are the ones that can truly celebrate and revel in these achievements. Sophie?
Yeah, I could not agree more with you, Jessica. So for me, like being here today has been possible because I received a lot of inspiration from role models. So not only men astronauts, but also women astronauts. I remember very well the first launch of Claudie Agnuret. I was 14 years old. And that day, it kind of clicked in my mind. She was the first French woman astronaut flying to space. And before, only men. And you know, when you're a teenager, you're just looking for inspiration. And if someone has done it already, then it clicks in your mind, say, hey, yeah, if a woman has done it already, then why not me? And so if like any of us can give some inspiration to whoever needs it, I think inspiration doesn't have a genre. It's available for everyone who needs it. We need, to share words of inspiration to everyone who needs it. And so, yeah, if we can do this for people who need it, then we're happy to do it.
Next up is Josh Denner with Space.com.
Hi, thanks so much. This question can be for Jessica or any of you. Have you had the opportunity to correspond with your Crew-11 counterparts since their return? And are there any insights or new tips they had to convey about life on the station that would have otherwise been exchanged during crew overlap in orbit?
Yeah, we have had the opportunity to see them kind of informally so far in the gym and other places as we're going about our days and they're going about their rehab. So they definitely have some handover tips to share with us, and we actually are going to try to schedule something next week to speak directly with them. We also have some time with Chris Williams next week while we're still down here to get some of that handover before we get up there as well. So we're feeling very well positioned. It used to be the norm that we had these indirect handovers during, the time of my last mission. It was very normal to experience that. So we don't think that there will be any hiccups along the way. We'll be ready to go. Anything to add? Good.
Next up, we'll take another question from social media. Sean Vecchio on Instagram asks, what are you guys most excited about for your upcoming mission?
Andre?
Если позволите, я по-русски отвечу. Чего ждем? В первую очередь, конечно же, успешного старта, затем выполнить всю работу, которая нам запланирована нашему экипажу на борту станции, выполнить ее качественно, и успешно вернуться домой. И особенно, лично мне, я уже, и Джессика, я думаю, тоже видела, точно видела Землю с высоты орбиты. И мне, конечно же, хотелось бы еще раз посмотреть и насладиться теми видами, которые открываются с этой высоты на нашу Землю. Восходы, закаты, и многое другое, что мы можем увидеть с этой высоты.
So basically, he said he's looking forward to all of it. A successful launch, all of his work on board the space station, and a safe return, and especially the incredible views that we're all so fortunate to have from the International Space Station. He said it much more eloquently than that, I promise you.
So,
Jack, Sophie?
Да.
Jack, Sophie, anything?
I think it's one of the things I look forward to is the small things that exist in just a completely unbelievable environment. Like one of the favorite parts of my day normally is getting up, it's quiet in the house, I'm having a cup of coffee, and I'm reading the news and just kind of getting ready for my day. And in a few weeks, I'm going to be able to do that same thing, but I'll be looking out the cupola while I'm doing it. And I'm going to be surrounded by friends. We're going to be floating around in microgravity. And it's just going to be this normal part of my day in this completely incredible environment. And that's a pretty exciting kind of thing for me to look forward to. So I'm pretty excited about that.
I think also we are very happy among the crew to be able to share it with everyone, because it's a lot of excitement for us, of course, but it's also a lot of excitement from people who stay on the ground. We've received a ton of support from people we're working with, we have been trained by, but also from people we don't even know. Sometimes we receive postcards or drawings from kids that say, hey, go for it, go Crew-12. And so we're very excited to share our enthusiasm with everyone. Yeah.
All right, next up we have TJ Mascaro with the Epoch Times.
Hi, TJ Mascara with the Epoch Times. Thank you so much. My question is for Jessica and really any other crewmates who want to chime in. The International Space Station expeditions have always been about learning how to live and work in space and go on these long duration missions. But while you guys are up there, there's a chance that one going around the moon will be happening at the exact same time. Does that add any new sense of immediacy or more direct, like more of an obvious sense of a direct correlation, especially when it comes to the new exercise equipment or the lunar landing simulations? Do you feel like there's a more obvious direct correlation or a sense of immediacy compared to your last flight?
Yeah, certainly. I think that it does make it all feel much more real. Everything that we do at NASA is incremental. We build upon the previous steps and successes and lessons that we learned from previous missions. So the reason why we are here right now, ready to embark on the very first crewed Artemis mission, is because of the wealth of data that we have from platforms like the ISS. So we're very excited to continue with that. But I think, I know, of course, we've been talking about returning to the moon for quite a long time now, and it always seemed like, okay, we're just not there yet, it'll come in the future. I didn't think that it was going to necessarily happen during my career. I remember very vividly standing there and watching the Artemis 1 launch. I was pregnant at the time, and I was standing next to Christina, so it was one of these very core memories. And watching that rocket launch was really extraordinary. The feeling of the power of those engines that really nobody on Earth has felt since the decades before with the Apollo missions. The scale of it is really different in terms of how it feels and sounds to watch a rocket launch. And that was the moment for me where I was like, wow, this is real. Like, this is happening now. We are going back to the moon. And the next time that this rocket launches, it will be with my friends on top of it. So that, for me, was the moment that really made it all come together. And now we're right here on the precipice of the Artemis 2 mission, of their launch. And the fact that they will be in space at the same time as us, it is, as Jack was saying earlier, it's so cool to be an astronaut now. It's so exciting to think that we have all of these different prospects and to think about the work that we're doing. Of course, for the entire last 26 years, all of it has benefited these future missions, and in continuing some of these experiments that will help us with our first landing missions on the moon, it makes it even more worthwhile and rewarding for us.
Next up, we have James Dowling-Healy with the West Hartford Community Interactive.
Good afternoon. This is James Dowling-Healy with West Hartford Community Interactive. Given that Commander Hathaway is from Connecticut, Dr. Muir is from Maine, and Dr. Williams has deep ties to Massachusetts, will you be bringing any extra New England culture to the station, or are you planning any special downlinks? Thank you, and happy almost Groundhog Day.
Thank you. Yeah, we all have some home events planned, so there definitely will be a lot of link-ups with the whole region of New England. And, Super Bowl Sunday will be just before we get up there as well. So we'll be cheering along. I did carry some special effects last time. I won't have any spoilers, but we'll see, what we have to represent the region and the different link-ups that we'll have. What do you think, Jack?
I agree with everything you said. I'll add that we're all really proud of where we came from. I know that all of us grew up with mentors and friends and teachers, and we're all a product of where we come from. And being from New England, me being from Connecticut, and a lot of crewmates from that area is awesome. And I'm proud of where we come from. I'm proud of where we started, and I know no matter where we were born, where any astronaut was born, that's always a part of us, and we carry part of our homes into space with us. And as Sophie always so eloquently says, we're happy to share that with everyone back home during our mission.
And I would add that even if you're not from Maine or Connecticut, if you come from the middle of France, the countryside where I was raised, I'm also very proud from where I come from.
Я тоже беру символику из своего родного города, где вырос, небольшой городок Свердловской области, это на Уральских, там, где Уральские горы. Вот, и я везу с собой флаг этого города.
I'm also taking the symbolic items from the little town where I grew up in the Sverdlov region, in the small mountainous town in the Urals, and I'm also bringing the flag of my local town.
We will go back over to social media for another question. Alice Roche on Facebook asks, how do you cope with being away from your family? Is it hard for you to deal with?
Well, I'll start off there. For me, this flight is entirely different. When I flew last time, I did not have a husband and a child, and now I have both of those. So I know at the end of my 7 months last time, I actually wanted to stay longer. I wasn't ready to come home. And this time perhaps will feel a little bit different since I'll be leaving my 3-year-old back here. But everything that we're doing on board the space station is so exciting. It keeps us going, keeps us invigorated, and it's easy to not miss things back at home. Of course, we will miss our family, our friends, our loved ones, but I hope that what we're doing will be exciting enough and important enough, noteworthy enough that one day when she's old enough, she'll appreciate that time away that we had.
Just to add maybe with what Jessica said, and I totally agree with all of this, we are also very connected to the Earth and to the people we love. We can do some video calls or phone calls. We can write emails. So it's also easy to keep in touch and to keep contact. Of course, we are very busy on board, and especially I think will be a very busy expedition mission with a lot of tasks to do. So we'll maybe not have that much time to think about like what we miss and what we don't miss, because we'll be very busy. But for what matters, like being in touch with the one we love, we will be able to do that with a connection, thanks to emails, phone calls, video calls.
I'll use your question to take the opportunity to thank my family, and I think on behalf of all the crew to thank our families, because they're the ones that sacrifice quite a bit to put up with our careers as we move around the country and go different places and support us and take care of the home front while we're on a training evolution or activity, or we go to the space station for 8 to 9 months. Our families are the ones that are at home taking care of the house, taking care of the kids, making sure they do their homework, and just keeping everything in order so we can pursue our dreams. So from the bottom of our hearts, thanks to our families for doing that for us.
Great.
We'll take another question from social media real quick. Robert Guzman on Facebook asks, are any of the astronauts taking a musical instrument? And if so, which instrument did they choose to take?
I packed my piccolo. It flew with me on my last flight, so I do plan to play that. We'll see if we can arrange what might be a special event. Stay tuned for that. There are also several instruments on board the space station that live there full time, a couple guitars, a keyboard, some maracas, and other percussion-type instruments. There was a saxophone briefly when I was there last time that was flown by Thomas Pesquet, so I got to play that last time, but that is no longer there. How about you guys? Any instruments coming up?
I think we can say we take our voices too, right? That can be an instrument.
Да, в прошлый полет я привез с собой губную гармошку, поэтому там сейчас на борту есть еще и губная гармошка. В прошлом полете во время экспедиции у нас было целых 3 гитары на борту, Джессика уже об этом сказала, и мы часто собирались, устраивали, не то чтобы концерт, а вместе сидели, пели песни на разных языках, пели все вместе, использовали, например, как караоке, то есть я играл на гитаре, и все остальные просто пели уже слова из интернета, какую-то песню, если брали. Поэтому я думаю, в этот раз у нас будет что-то подобное обязательно. Также будем встречаться. Может быть, устроим действительно какой-нибудь концерт.
Yes, I am going to bring, I actually brought the harmonica on board, so there is one already there. And as Jessica mentioned, there were 3 guitars during our previous mission on board. We used to sing together, and it was like karaoke. We sang different languages, or I would play the guitar, and everybody would sing the words from the song they looked up online. So we will probably meet and play our musical instruments and maybe actually give a concert.
We will go back to the phone bridge for a couple more questions. As a reminder for those joining us on the phone, you can press *1 to enter the queue to ask a question and *2 to remove yourself from the queue. We will go over to Will Robinson-Smith with Spaceflight Now.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for allowing a second question. you kind of hit on it with the musical instruments, but maybe beyond that to all 4 of the crew members, what's an important personal memento that you're bringing aboard with you to station, and why that item? Thank you.
Well, if you want, I can start with. So, yeah, I mean, the things we bring on space station, there are different categories. There are some things that help us stay connected with our families, our beloved ones, our friends. And so generally for people, it's like kind of small souvenirs, pictures, or, you know, everyone has its own or his or her own choices. There's a second category, I would say, is usually the thank you gifts that were given to us and that we want to fly with us and give back to the people, from people who really supported us, like mentors, people who gave us a ton of inspiration, or people who worked hours and hours to make this mission become possible and successful. And then there would be a third category, but for this one, I would say no spoiler. You will see along the way of those 8 months missions, because some things will happen on Earth, and we also want to celebrate and stay connected with everyone on Earth. So there will be some little surprises. And maybe a fourth category, because from the culture where I come from, food is very important, gastronomy. So actually the European Space Agency partnered with a chef whose name is Anne-Sophie Pic. And Anne-Sophie Pic prepared for us some meals to celebrate with the crew for things that we will want to celebrate, among others. And so it's a way also to feel connected to Earth, because it will represent not only some sophisticated meals, but also some very daily meals that everyone knows, and it kind of reminds our childhood. So it will be nice to reconnect and build bonds again with each other during meals.
We're all very excited for the French food. It will definitely raise the bar on our culinary experience in space.
We'll take another social media question. Ra on Facebook asks, how do you plan to get used to microgravity?
Man, I don't really know. As Jessica and Andre and all of our veteran astronauts have talked about, it's something that you don't really understand until you live it. And you just kind of have to see. You have to give yourself some patience and some grace. Some people feel a little bit uncomfortable at first, but everyone kind of works their way through it. I haven't heard anyone come back and not be absolutely in love with being able to float around and twist around and touch things and create little globes of water and play with their food and do somersaults through the lab. So it's a very exciting thing. It's one of those things you can't really know what it's going to be like for you until you get into it, but we're certainly excited to see what happens.
Back on the phone bridge, we have Marcia Dunn with the Associated Press.
Yes, hi. Question for Sophie. Have you been in touch with Claudie Henier? What is she telling you about your upcoming flight? Might she be coming for launch? And why do you think it's taken so long to put another French woman into space? Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much for your question. It's a really good one. Actually, it cannot be more to the point. I received a beautiful letter from her just today. It was very emotional. She was giving me all the final advices. I almost have a lot of emotions just saying this. She's been really supportive since I was selected, and she gave me always advice, not being too much present, because she knows we were so busy with training, but she was also, quietly present and say, hey, if you need any advice, I'm here. And sometimes I just picked up my phone and she answered and say, hey, maybe you'll go through this and that, and giving advice, So yeah, she really not only inspired me since I was 14 years old and her first launch, but she also has been a very good mentor until this point, and I cannot thank her too much. She will be here for launch, and I'm very happy that she will be able to be here. But wherever she would be in the world, I know she would be supportive anyway. Yes. So just I really wanted to thank her, and she's been an amazing mentor.
We have James Dowling-Healy with the West Hartford Community Interactive.
Hi, good afternoon. James Dowling-Healy, West Hartford Community Interactive again. I know that photography is often a favorite pastime up in space and that you get sort of official and unofficial training in that. Are you looking forward, given the increased solar activity lately, to getting some fantastic aurora photos as well as other great photos?
Oh, absolutely. The solar activity is far beyond what it was during my last mission, so I'm really excited for that. I know that everybody in the world has seen the beautiful, breathtaking photos and time lapses that astronauts have been sending down lately. Thanks to that, we also have some newer cameras on board the space station than when I flew, so helps us capture those images even more easily. So very much looking forward to the photography. Space photography is quite difficult. You know, the way the lighting is constantly changing when you have this, all of the light, you know, coming onto the Earth, it can be quite challenging. So there's a lot to learn up there, and I'm very much looking forward to a lot of photos. How about you guys?
Yeah, photography is kind of a key piece of the astronaut training we get. We, in addition to all of the awesome Earth photography that we get to do of the environment and our hometowns and places we visited and weather, we also do quite a bit of photography inside the station as a way to document what's happening to hardware or document what's going on during an experiment. So thanks to the photography training team here at Johnson Space Center that have walked us through all of the settings on all of the cameras and the video recorders, so we're prepared to use that equipment to further the mission.
We will take our final question from social media. It comes from _rnixl.7e on Instagram, who asks, what did you love about space when you were a student like me?
I love the adventure. I've always been attracted to things that are hard to do and things that there's a little bit of like, you have to be pretty good at them in order to do them well, and there's challenge and there's a little bit of risk, and space is all of those things. It's someplace that we haven't really fully explored yet. We've taken a lot of great steps, and as Jessica's mentioned, we rely heavily on the people that have gone before us, but there's so much more out there in space. It's another frontier. It's another adventure to have, and that part is really exciting. It's been exciting for me my whole life, and I don't think that will stop. Like Artemis is going to the moon. Our friends are going to circle the moon in the next month or two. We're going to go up and spend 8 or 9 months on the space station, living in microgravity, learning about things, getting to go out the door in a spacesuit. There's a lot of adventure to have, and all of that was inspiring to me as a child and still is to this day.
Yeah, I could not agree more with you, Jack, and I would say that it's the adventure, yes, for me too, but also the scientific part of the adventure. I think something that unites us as astronauts in general is that we love challenges, and it can be mental challenge or physical challenge, and the job of an astronaut has them all. So every time there's a new challenge, we're all ready to go and tackle this challenge. And yeah, adventure, science, all of this together. I would maybe say, as an international partner, what I was also very inspired to see is that it's a beautiful symbol of what humanity can do when nations cooperate together and work together. And whatever happens on the Earth, this as International Space Station is celebrating 25 years of continuous presence of people from all of the continents, and I think it's a very beautiful symbol that we all keep deep into our hearts, the astronauts, yeah, and also the ground team and everyone working for this. So space flight is a beautiful symbol of humanity, what humanity can do.
Andre?
Ну, если говорить о том, что чем космос притягивал в детстве, то я всегда говорю, в принципе, одно и то же. В первую очередь, конечно же, различные фильмы о космосе, различные книги о космосе. Именно читая эти книги, просматривая эти фильмы, мне, конечно же, хотелось побывать там, где еще никто не был, и открыть какие-то новые пути, либо быть участником того процесса, благодаря которому для человечества будут открыты новые пути к новым мирам. И я уверен абсолютно в том, что это обязательно когда-то произойдет.
Whenever I'm asked what attracted me to space in my childhood, I inevitably say that those were movies and books I was watching or reading in my childhood. I was always attracted to unexplored space. I wanted to become one of the explorers exploring the unknown pathways and participate in the new discoveries, and that was the attraction.
And I think it's very similar for me as well. As a child, I was very inquisitive. I had this scientific curiosity, especially about the natural world around me, the plants and the animals. Growing up in a small town in northern Maine with lots of trees around, I think fostered that. And my mom, who had this close connection to nature as a Swede. So all of that, this sense of exploration, I truly believe it's just inherent in us as humans. If not, we wouldn't have even discovered all of the continents and oceans on this planet. It just is natural part of us to want to look further, to go around the next corner. So that is why we are all so excited for this next chapter for our mission Expeditions 74 and 75 on board the International Space Station. We talked a lot about some of the science, but we will also, it looks like, per the current plan, of course things are always changing, but it looks like we will also have several EVAs, several spacewalks during the mission as well, for solar panel upgrades, for other repairs of things like reflectors on the space station, and possibly more to come. So we will be very busy, whether it's conducting science, doing spacewalks, or even just changing the light bulb or fixing the toilet, like Sophie alluded to earlier. We see it all as this great next chapter of exploration, and we cannot wait to launch, coming up here very soon.
And with that, we will go ahead and conclude today's news conference. Thank you for everyone who joined us here in the room, on the phone bridge, and on social media, and go Crew 12.